Ray Latif, the editor and producer of BevNet's Taste Radio podcast. And over the next 60 minutes, we're going to be chatting with entrepreneurs from across the country about their innovative brands and products. Joining me for today's show as a co-host is Nicole Dawes, the founder of Late July and Nixie Sparkling Water. Nicole, how are you?
I'm great, Ray. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's such a break from everything else that's going on to be on this.
It definitely does feel like a break. It's nice every week that we do this, that we get a chance to speak with some really interesting folks who are representing some really amazing brands. It's so good having you on the show, Nicole, because you can offer some advice and perspective and feedback based on your experience as an entrepreneur. As I mentioned, you are the founder of Late July and now Nixie Sparkling Water. Tell us a bit about your background in entrepreneurship.
Sure. Well, I always like to point out that my mom had a health food store in the 1970s, and then my dad started Cape Cod potato chips. So I was destined to go into the natural products industry. I started Late July when I was 29 and in 2002. And I sold it to Campbell Snacks, and I just recently started Nixie Sparkling Water.
Very cool. Nixie Sparkling Water, really interesting brand. We were talking before we got live here, and it's interesting because you're kind of in the same position as a lot of these folks, having launched Nixie this year, and then, well, you know, everything else that happened. How are you guys doing?
Well, great. I mean, you know, there's always challenges and ups and downs whenever you start a new company. I mean, it was a unique challenge to launch a brand and then have a global pandemic hit in the middle of your launch year. But I mean, I'm very lucky. It's been going well, and we have a great team that actually a lot of us came from Late July together. So we were already, you know, knew each other and comfortable working together. So I mean, it's been, you know, an absolutely incredible year in every way. But you know, I have to say we're doing okay.
Yeah. Well, you know, for folks who might be familiar or might have seen Nicole on Taste Radio before, don't rub your eyes. You have episode 141 of Taste Radio. We do an extensive conversation. Nicole and I have an extensive conversation about her background. So I highly recommend you all listen to it. It is a great, great interview. No bias at all. Once again, if you're just tuning in, this is BevNet's Elevator Talk live stream. I'm Ray Latif, and I'm joined by Nicole Dawes, the founder of Late July and Nixie Sparkling Water. We're going to be chatting with entrepreneurs for the next 60 minutes about their innovative brands and products. So let's get started. Nicole, you ready?
Yes, I'm very excited.
Very cool. All right. First up is Ben Wheeler, who's the founder and CEO of Favor. Ben, how are you?
Hey, Ray. I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. We missed you last week. Some technical difficulties, but so glad we have you on now.
Yeah, that was a bit of a dry run. So happy to be here.
Indeed. Favor, you know, I have a shot of your product. I have some of your product literally right here in my hand, out of the blue. I don't know where this came from. There it is. You got one too. Tell us a bit about it.
What are the chances? Yeah, so we make 2-ounce apple cider vinegar shots. The idea being to combine both convenience and drinkability with the actual benefits of apple cider vinegar. What makes our apple cider vinegar shots unique is that it is raw and unpasteurized apple cider vinegar. So we're mixing it with other flavors to provide a better tasting experience while still maintaining those benefits of, you know, better gut health and immunity, and really embodying the idea of like less but better. So ingredient wise, messaging wise, you know, these are called better gut shots, but you know, the idea being it's not going to cure you, it's not going to save you, but it will make you feel better. So just straightforward with our ingredients and our messaging.
Nicole, what do you think of the brand premise? It's interesting because, you know, we've seen this category of functional shots expanding. You know, are you a believer in the potential for the category and in particular what Favor is doing?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, Ben, I want to say congratulations for you getting your company going and off the ground. And, you know, I mean, that is definitely something to be really proud of. So I want to just say that. And, I think it's a really interesting category. I mean, obviously, everybody right now is hyper focused on health and immunity support and, you know, and products that can help them achieve that. And, you know, I think your brand premise is really interesting. I mean, one of the things that struck me, you know, when I first looked at it was, you know, in the natural products industry, a lot of times, we're small brands starting out. We don't have a lot of capital. We don't have the ability to communicate complicated messaging. Even being an organic product like I was trying to communicate is very complicated, and you need to do it with very little money. Now, usually what I always did was we used our packaging to help tell the story, because you just don't have the ability to spend, do a $20 million ad campaign to try to explain to people what is so great about your products.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that struck me when I first looked at your products, is that, your brand is cool and you got a lot of really interesting things going on there, but I think you could probably be using your real estate a little bit better.
Definitely. And thank you. Thank you for that. We're in the process of a slight rebrand to address just that. So coming very soon. So that was, the first run, as you mentioned. So
Ben,
that's great.
Nicole, go ahead.
No, I was just kidding. And that's what I love about talking to other entrepreneurs. And this is one of the things that I've always found. We invest, my husband and I also invest in a lot of other companies. And, entrepreneurs usually know their problems. Like, I would say most of the time when I've brought things like that to entrepreneurs, like they already are aware of it. And it's just, I think the more you do it, the more you start trusting, your gut and your instincts to actually act and spend the money or do whatever you need to do to solve those problems.
Yeah, definitely.
Ben, I'm curious because, the merchandising angle of shots is obviously a tough one. Limited space in the space that's available is often a little clunky. How are you addressing the merchandising part of what you're doing?
Yeah, so as Nicole mentioned, just, a straightforward message of, this is what's in it. This is what it's going to do for you is the game plan. And then just hitting retail. Obviously now, we've launched in DC in a handful of stores, but we're going to kind of focus in on that area. And then, our shots are shelf stable. So I see direct to consumer as being a huge avenue for us as well. So it's a daily shot. It's something you work into your daily routine. And it's also, it's not you don't need to refrigerate it. So I see that avenue as definitely being in the game plan as well.
And how much do your shots retail for?
$3.99.
$3.99. Right on.
Yep.
Once again, Ben, it's so good seeing you. And I was a little worried last week that we wouldn't get you on the show, but I'm so happy that we did. Good luck with everything going forward. And man, I'm gonna crush one of these a little bit later on. I can't wait.
Shake and shoot. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Shake it right on. All right.
Thank you.
That was Ben Wheeler. He's the founder and CEO of Favor. Nicole, that was great advice and great feedback. How many brands in a calendar year? How many brands do you normally invest in?
It's a great question, Ray.
I'm sure our audience would love to know as well.
We currently have investments in 4 brands.
4 brands. And I mean, is it something where it's sort of category specific, or is it just related to a great idea that you look at?
Honestly, I mean, we invest in a person. I mean, if you're going to invest in an entrepreneurial brand, you're investing in the entrepreneur. I mean, that is the one thing that unites the various things that we've invested in. It's always the person.
Right on. All right, let's move on to our next guest, who is Eric Teodoro Franco, who's the co-founder and senior director of sales and marketing for Full Bar. Eric, how are you?
Ray, good afternoon. How are you?
Great to see you. I'm doing pretty well. Full Bar, it sounds pretty straightforward. Is it as straightforward as it sounds?
It is completely as straightforward as it sounds. So, coming off what Nicole said, we wanted our brand to be very clear, really concise, and easy to pick out when on the shelf. And so we wanted the consumer to understand really very quickly what our brand is and what it represents.
And what do you guys do? What do you represent?
So Full Bar is the nation's first canned spirit and cocktail mixer company. So we've actually canned 3.4 ounce, 80 proof spirits. This is our 3.4 ounce gin as an example. And then we have an accompanying 6.7 ounce mixer, which is non-alcoholic. So the idea is that when you want cocktails on the go, conveniently and portably, you want something really refreshing, You can take a 3.4 ounce spirit and then a 6.7 ounce mixer, pour them together, and you have a real cocktail anywhere and everywhere.
I wish I had that anywhere and everywhere here, but I don't currently. I did see your products in our office. Pretty striking branding. Nicole, what do you think of the purpose? We were talking about this actually prior to the show about canned cocktails and the potential for that business. And there's the pack that Eric is showing there. What do you think of what Full Bar is doing?
Well, I mean, I think canned cocktails are really having a moment, which is exciting. I also think that, unfortunately, because of that, it feels like there's going to be a little bit more competition. I mean, I saw Absolute just launch them, and but what I loved about when I was checking out Full Bar is, I mean, it seems to me like the positioning that you're taking is superiority in your spirits. I guess the question I had is, I have two questions about Full Bar. One is, I would love to understand a little bit more about why you made the decision to separate them, as opposed to what most people do is put them together. And then the second, this is just an aside, the first thing I thought of when I saw your products was what an amazing club pack it would make. Like literally a full bar. So you would like walk into a Costco, get a full bar, and walk out with your multi-pack of your entire bar. That's not a question, I realize, but it seemed like such a huge opportunity.
We'll turn it into a question for sure.
But I would love to just dive a little deeper into, because I understand just from going to your website and your materials and your background, like how you ended up with the spirits that you chose, but kind of why you separated them and how are you communicating their superiority, I guess.
Fantastic. No, great questions. I think first and foremost, we set out to really create a brand that was retailer-centric first and then consumer-centric second, which is somewhat different than maybe other brands. What we realized after a lot of years in the industry was that a brand or brands that are really focused on driving category sales for that buyer or that owner, that decision maker, off and on premise. If a brand is really focused on driving the category, then that brand probably is more considered a strategic brand partner than is a transactional one. So for us, it was about, we looked at a ready to drink, if you will, and really everything is a ready to drink. We consider ourselves more of a ready to make. So as a retailer, what our brand does, we think really well, is it positions the retailer to make money from a spirits perspective. We have 5 different unique spirits in 6-packs, as well as the retailer can make money and drive the category from a mixer perspective. And then when brought together, it's a disruptive cocktail brand or a cross merch brand. So, take our can of vodka. How many people love vodka Red Bulls? So you can actually cross merch our brand with Red Bull as an example, and have kind of a really disruptive display in store or at bar even. So it was really focused around driving category and being multifunctional versus a ready to drink package that really demands immediate pull and one pull only. And then the second question was, from a quality perspective, we very early on figured out in our business model, we looked at becoming a distillery and buying equipment to distill. We early on figured out one that was probably cost prohibitive, and thank God we didn't do that because we'd be in a bit of a different situation currently. But also that we wanted then to look for partners that had been distilling for many, many years. In some cases, some of our distilling partners have been doing it for 100+ years. And we thought, can we actually distill products and create products better than someone who's been doing it for as long as they have, and consistently plus in quantity? So we made the real decision to partner with people who had been distilling for long periods, quality, and have a record of quality, and then producing in large quantities if our business were to be able to scale. So those are hopefully 2 answers to your questions.
Those are great answers. And I thought that was a great suggestion by Nicole. I mean, wouldn't that be the coolest thing in the world if you're walking out of a Costco? It's like, I got the full bar here. And I love it. I love it. You do any consulting?
What I don't have in front of me is what's called our 20-pack cocktail kit. And basically what it has is 2 of each of our spirit types. So we have a vodka, a Blanco tequila, an American whiskey, a gin, and our Caribbean rum. So you get 2 cans of each spirit, and then you get 2 cans of each of our mixers. So we have a tonic, a soda water, a classic margarita, an island punch, and then we have our ginger mule. So that box allows you to make 20 single cocktails or 10 doubles. So to your point, you're at a tailgate once things get back to normal, or you're inviting a few people over as things open up to a backyard barbecue. You literally put the thing on ice, and now everyone has the freedom to kind of make cocktails either as strong as they want. They can make variations of cocktails. It really puts the power back in the hand of the consumer.
Eric, we only have a few seconds left. I'm curious about your e-commerce business, or if you have an e-commerce business. I mean, how are things for the brand online at this point, especially during the current pandemic?
So real quickly, we launched Michigan here in late Feb, and then we are also in Florida. So those are the two primary states. We got hit right as the thing hit and began kind of impacting the trade. So we are actually currently about 3 weeks away from launching our e-commerce site. And we're going to concentrate on New York, California, and Chicago specifically to really target in on some geos that we think will see some advantageous both opportunities for cocktails and then for sales specifically. And then we'll branch out from there based on timing.
Fantastic. Eric, so great speaking with you, and good luck with everything going forward.
Ray, thank you. And Nicole, thanks for the questions.
All right. Once again, if you're just tuning in, this is BevNet's Elevator Talk live stream. We're chatting with entrepreneurs from across the country about their innovative brands and products. I'm Ray Latif, the editor and producer of BevNet's Taste Radio podcast, joined by Nicole Dawes, who is the founder of Late July and Nixie Sparkling Water. Just a quick note for folks who are watching that represent early stage brands. BevNet and Nosh are hosting pitch competitions in a couple of weeks' time, June 9th and June 11th. Nosh Pitchland 8 and BevNet's New Beverage Showdown 19. If you're interested in being part of the competition, please apply. To do so, the deadline is May 29th. You can find more information at BevNET.com and Nosh.com. All right. Up next on the live stream is Dan Durand, who is the CRO and co-founder of Brami. Dan, how are you? I'm sorry.
Well, how are you, Ray?
Dylan, how are you? I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
Brami, I've seen your brand in a number of places. For folks who aren't familiar, what do you guys do?
So we're Brami. We reimagine lupini beans, which are a Mediterranean legume snack that's packed with plant protein and fiber, but low in calories, carbs, and sugar, so you can conquer hunger and feel good. Our first line was Italian snacking lupini beans, which was a kind of modern reimagination of a ancient Italian tradition. And so the way we modernized it was we did all clean label, attractive branding, flavors. No one had been knowing flavors before. So we've been doing that for a couple of years now, and we just launched the lupini bean hummus as well, which I have some samples here to show. And we're really excited about the hummus because it's really delicious. It's packed with tons of flavor. It's 0 grams net carbs, so it is keto friendly, which no other hummuses are. And it's shelf stable, so it ships right to your door, extremely convenient, especially in the times that we're living in now. Don't have to hassle with the grocery store. So we launched that about 3 weeks ago, and we're really excited to kind of spread that over the coming months.
Very interesting. I'm seeing more brands that were sort of ingredient specific get into the hummus space. How long has that product been in development?
It probably took 1 to 2 years. Lots of bench testing and recipe testing in our own kitchens, not to mention the whole commercial side of things.
Nicole, are you a hummus eater? Are you a lupini bean eater?
Well, I am. I'm Italian also, so
All right, Nicole.
Exciting to see a lupini bean getting their due. So congratulations on that. And I think it's a really cool concept to use lupini beans in this way. I would say, in looking at your products, because I know lupini beans are so delicious and, so much, I think it's a little bit similar to Favor in that you do have a communication challenge getting people to understand lupini beans because it's a weird word. It's not something everybody's familiar with. I think you do a pretty good job with that in terms of explaining your attributes. I think you get that right out in front of people. I think the part that is a little bit harder for me to see, like on first pass when I look at your products, is the communication of how delicious they are. I think that you do, like I said, you do a good job explaining the added benefits. I don't know if that's something that you considered. I've always found that when you're trying to have someone understand a concept that is a little bit new or a little bit different, just going back to something everybody knows, and that's taste, and communicating the deliciousness of them. I mean, I know it's hard in the space that you have, particularly on the ones in the package. I think that you could be using your packaging a little bit more effectively.
Yeah, I wonder, how would you recommend doing that? To me, the most obvious way is through beautiful photography, because like anyone can say delicious, and does it really mean anything? So I wonder if you have any thoughts there.
Well, I think there's two ways to do it. Beautiful photography is obviously the easiest if you can do that. The Lapini beans are not your best medium probably, because they are a little hard, they're to show, but I think it's possible, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if you do it in the right way, photography is expensive, but it definitely is worth it. And then the second is, other people, using quotes, letting other people tell your story for you. Obviously you can say it's delicious, but if somebody that is not you says it, that carries a little bit more weight. So, I mean, those are always ways that I've used in the past. But the most obvious and the easiest for you is just using your packaging with better photography.
Right. Yeah, totally.
Dylan, you guys underwent a change in your packaging, a branding update, a package update. Tell us about that process. We got about a minute left, but I'm interested to hear, based on what Nicole was talking about, how you approached communicating the attributes of the consumer and what you felt was most necessary to put on the front of that package.
Yeah, we did. We probably completed that a year or so ago, and it's been rolling through. We loved our old packaging, but we felt it didn't feel healthy enough. Our product's like super healthy, probably the healthiest snack in the category, and so we wanted it to feel a little bit cleaner, streamlined, and communicate those unique selling points more clearly. So we went to kind of a more modern approach where you can, I'm not sure if this is showing that well, but where you can clearly see the unique reasons to buy, and also a better descriptor of what the product is. So like we were previously had lupini snack. Well, no one knows what lupini is, and so we added Italian snacking lupini beans, Italian kind of giving some authority to where this is coming from. It isn't just coming from some guy's kitchen in Brooklyn. It's like this ancient Italian tradition. And so we thought that would help customers kind of know what this is better.
Awesome. Well, Dylan, thank you so much for joining us on the live stream. I've been a fan of your brand for some time, and please stay in touch with everything new that's going on with the company.
Well, thanks for having me.
All right. All right. Once again, if you're just tuning in, you're watching BevNet's Elevator Talk live stream. We're going to keep on keeping on with Jana Zabek, who is the founder and CEO of NOMS. Jana, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Fantastic. Fantastic. NOMS, I really love the name. What is the brand all about?
So we create really delicious, decadent snacks made with simple, clean ingredients. We place our ingredients right on the front, and we have the organic, vegan, gluten-free, paleo, non-GMO attributes. A few flavors, so hazelnut, coconut, pistachio, and almond. And our most recent update is that we switched to sustainable packaging. So we can get these energy bites in glass jars in the same flavors. So it's better for you, better for Mama Earth. And I'll show you what one of them looks like. This is the hazelnut flavor, and it kind of tastes like a healthy Ferrero Rocher.
A healthy Ferrero Rocher, or how do you pronounce it? I always forget.
It's a hard one, Ferrero Rocher.
Okay. Well, I really love those snacks, and I am eating more energy bites. I'm curious about your go-to-market strategy, because we are seeing more and more similar products come to market. Where are you trying to carve out some space for your brand?
We do exceptionally well at cafes. It pairs extremely well with coffee. So Starbucks obviously is what we drink, and where we really would love to see our product be sold, especially because it's so great for on the go and really clean ingredients, no refined sugar. So cafes is pretty much our go-to strategy, along with online, which we've ramped up in recent months.
Nicole, as an entrepreneur, it can be tough to navigate that go-to-market strategy. What advice or feedback do you have for Jana and NOMS?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for being certified organic. Obviously, that's something that's near and dear to my heart. And I know that you made your life a whole lot more complicated by doing that. So I really, really appreciate that very much. I think my advice, I mean, that is a tough strategy because, there's, you can go call on one grocery chain and get into 500 stores. But when your strategy is really focused on up and down the street and cafes and that, it is a little bit more complicated. But I actually think, it can be maybe even easier and more successful if you approach it, in a certain way. And the way I would say is to pick your home area, your home market, and really build a selling story for yourself. Learn what tools work, what type of up and down the street account is the right up and down the street account, so that when you take and leave your home market, you actually have a really strong selling story to take to a national chain like a Starbucks or Pete's or whatever. But you can learn a lot by becoming all things to a very small geographic area.
Absolutely, that's such a great point. And we actually started a few years ago. We're Canadian based, so we have a few national retailers in Canada, like Whole Foods and the Loblaws. But absolutely, I think you're right. Maybe taking that when we go into the US and maybe starting in a few cities and then going national from there.
John, I'm curious about the name. What does NOMS mean? Where did it come from? And how did you trademark it? Because it seems like something that other people would think of as well.
My brother helped come up with the name. And it's basically when you eat something really good, you kind of go, nom, 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 nom. So that's where the name came from.
Right on. I like your tagline too, treat your body. That's nice. It's so great to see entrepreneurs like yourself on the show, and I really like your packaging. I would really love to try your products at some point. So hopefully I'll find them in a cafe in my nearby Starbucks in the not too distant future.
Thank you so much, and thanks for hosting this show.
Of course. All right. That was Jonna Zybeck, who's the founder and CEO of NOMS, and just another one of these really amazing entrepreneurs that's helping to change the food industry one energy bite at a time. Nicole, I'm curious, do you see a lot of yourself when you're talking to entrepreneurs, like Jonna and some of the folks that we've spoken with, early stage, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and, excited about the future of the category, but also sort of not really sure what the next steps are?
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously I love talking to other entrepreneurs. It's, I feel like we're all such kindred spirits. And that's one of the things I do love about the natural products industry. Like even people that you compete with, I feel like we're such a friendly group of people who really all genuinely want to help each other. And, there's like nothing I love more than seeing an entrepreneur get excited about their product. That's why, honestly, I can't watch Shark Tank. It makes me too upset to see entrepreneurs get torn down or beaten up, because, it really is such a labor of love, and it takes so much to get a product, from 0 to 3 million, and then from 3 to 10, and then 10 to 20, and then, it's like each one of those stages takes so much.
Yeah, and it takes a team. It takes a network of folks to do so, as you were, alluding to. And it is lucky we work in an industry where people are willing to give advice and share feedback and share their thoughts. I think that's one of the things that's really struck me the most about doing this in the 9 years that I've been with BevNet is how welcoming and how great of a community we have. Which is why, again, I was so happy to have you on the show, because I know that's been your mindset for a long time. All right, let's keep on keeping on. Right now we have Ryan Emmons, who's the CEO and founder of Waiakea Hawaiian Volcanic Water. Ryan, great seeing you.
Gotta unmute myself.
No, that's
How
okay.
are you, bud?
Good to see you.
It's been a minute.
It has been a minute.
Your hair is not as long as I actually expected.
Well, no, I cut it last week,
Nice.
or my wife cut it last week, and I thought she did a pretty good job.
Same, except for obviously a little hot head now.
I was wearing a hat earlier. Well, you're always looking good, Ryan. I think the last time we caught up was Expo West 2019.
Yeah, and then also I think, well, yeah, actually that would have been the last time, because unfortunately winter BevNet. Well, no, it was winter BevNet.
Okay, I'm sorry. We caught up at winter at BevNet Live winter 2019. Sure. Obviously, I'm familiar with the brand. For folks who aren't, tell us about Waiakea.
Yeah, so Waiakea is basically a carbon neutral Fiji meets Tom's Shoes. Really, our purpose is to kind of change the norms of the bottled water industry, and really set the tone in terms of a carbon neutral supply chain, in terms of sustainable packaging, sustainable sourcing, carbon neutral logistics, all of these things. And then we were the first, as an example of that, we were the first to use 100% post-recycled, upcycled materials for all of our packaging back in 8 years ago, when we started the company. So we're basically, if you want to buy premium water and you're looking for something that has a lot of natural minerals and is naturally alkaline, has a really good smooth mouthfeel. There's obviously plenty of self-proclaimed water snobs in the world, but even for those that are just looking for a good functional water, we're kind of an opportunity for them to do so without necessarily feeling a lot of the guilt that sometimes happens with bottled water.
The premium water space has really evolved and expanded in recent years. From one water entrepreneur to another, Nicole, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on, this expanding space for premium water and how you navigate this business, and any thoughts you have for Ryan about things like private label, because what's keeping private label from getting into, say, an alkaline or a premium water, or and obviously in your space, sparkling water?
Well, I mean, first of all, 8 years is amazing. I mean, that's you've been in the beverage business longer than I have. But speaking from obviously competing with private label and store brands and having a premium product is something I'm obviously very familiar with. And that is definitely something I've never worried about, because if you truly make a premium product and your product is a value, whatever your price is, what you're providing is a value to the consumer. That's the only thing that can drive your brand decisions. I think unless your goal as a brand is to be a value brand that competes with private label, that's a totally different set of objectives. But obviously that's
no way.
His brand is something premium. They're offering something differentiated. I mean, I don't think that, to me, other premium waters are are the competition. I don't think private label will ever be his competition.
Indeed. Yep. And, Brian, you talk about the attributes of your brand, especially, the new eco-friendly packaging. How important is that to consumers? How important is that to a consumer like you, Nicole? I mean, obviously you're passionate about organic ingredients and organic foods. Sustainability, that next level attribute that folks are looking for?
I mean, it definitely is. I mean, it's, sustainable packaging is, I think, all of our obligation in the food and beverage industry to keep pushing ourselves to be better and better and better. I mean, I think beverages have an easier job with that than snacks. Unfortunately for snacks, we're far, far behind where beverages can be. I think plastic and, being better in terms of how we use plastic is really, or eliminating it is really, the next frontier for beverage. And I do think consumers are very concerned about it.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, 8 years in the business, what's been the toughest part for you as a brand? Distribution is always something that seems very challenging in the beverage business, but what do you think has been the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome, to make it this long?
Yeah, so I think we a long time ago challenged ourselves to see how long we could go without going DSD, and we've built a really good, solid book of business with about 20,000 stores in every state around the country. And the majority of our business is still going direct to warehouse, and that's enabled us to have better margins. It's obviously a lot tougher a lot of the times. Retailers don't want to deal with bringing in new products into their warehouse. They got limited space, but we've still been able. If you look at the top 10 waters, we're the only one that's non-DSD, and we still perform in terms of per store velocities, ranking at about number 3. So I think that really allowed us a lot of flexibility. And now we're kind of turning the corner, starting to really develop DSD so we can start to saturate some of those markets. So I think that was a really big part and kind of how we expanded our retail footprint, because we wanted to just really focus on what made sense financially. And when you're trying to figure out your margins and you don't have a lot of scale at first, to suddenly go DSD and incorporate someone that's going to take 25 to 30% is really rough and really not sustainable, because you're dealing with a contribution margin that is then you're probably even losing money. And so I think we've really taken the right approach to that, and I'm really excited to kind of see how this next chapter goes.
Indeed. I think some of the entrepreneurs listening and some of the audience are like, wow, he knows a lot about his brand. And I guess you really have to know everything about your brand when you do make it, as long as you have. Ryan, always great seeing you. Good luck with everything going forward. And I hope it's not too much longer before we see each other in person again.
I'm sure. Thanks, Ray. Bye.
All right. That was Ryan Emmons, who's the founder and CEO of Waiakea Hawaiian Water. All right, let's move on to our next guest, who is Christine and Michael Leonek, who are the co-founders of Oomph Cooking Blends. Christine, Michael,
Hey
how
there.
are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Oomph. I love it. What do you guys do?
So Oomph Cooking Blends are dehydrated and milled vegetables and herbs that we combined into scrumptious flavor profiles for cooking. They are big flavor and nutrition in a pinch. They are organic or naturally grown in the bag, although we're not certified yet. They're really, we started this to really empower people and to bring a healthy and tasty choice to shortcuts in the meal making process. And Oomph is really all about flavoring food with food. These are our packages here. I don't know, it's a little bright, it's hard to see, but just veggies and herbs in the bag. It's a very clean label. And we're sort of new on the scene. We're kind of discovering that we've created a bit of a new food category, so that offers some challenges and some benefits there. But we're pretty excited. We've been doing this. We officially launched about a year ago with some new branding, but before that, we were testing everything from recipes to messaging to labeling, everything at a few local farmers markets in Portland, Oregon.
Very cool. I think you said flavoring food with food. Is that right?
That's right.
Very cool. Nicole, I'm curious. I mean, it's interesting to hear you. It's interesting to hear about this, this perspective of, starting in farmers markets and then growing and scaling your business from there. What's your advice for Christine and Michael about, how to scale their brand in a really efficient and thoughtful way?
Well, I think one of the challenges that they have is because they're a little bit different. They don't fit neatly into a category exactly perfect. I'm sort of asking myself, do you merchandise this with spices? Do you merchandise this with meal kits? Where do you merchandise it? And so I think that would be my advice, is figure out where, try to find at least a couple of retail partners that will be honest and will share data with you, and see if you can get them to try it in multiple locations so that you can build a selling story about where it makes the most sense. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you get an opportunity with a big chain in the wrong section, and people don't know what to do with the product in that section, and they don't understand how to use it. So I think you pointed out that as a challenge because you've created something a little bit new, and just where in the store do you sell that? Exactly, that will give you the best return.
We've been testing that. We have a local, we're building concentrically out of Portland, Oregon here. We have a local grocery store, 10 locations, and we've started to do exactly what you're saying, and that's everything from being featured in the produce section to the spice aisle to a freestanding tree, that it's its own sort of POP. So we are sort of learning as we go on that process, and then and the stores are being super helpful, to your point, in giving us metrics on what's being successful. They're super nimble and willing to try things. So we're actively in that process right now.
And then we've had a lot of success. We actually just launched a new website. We're going direct to consumer quite a bit right now. And we've had a lot of success talking directly to the customer, either through our website or before COVID, there was a lot of events that we were doing. We were doing 10 farmers markets a month and tons of events. And our blends we just sell out. So I think our number one goal this year is to really it's the communication and building that community. So thank you. We that is the top of our mind.
Yeah, it's got to be really tough when you can't do demos, especially for a product and a brand like yours. What's been most successful in that communication that you've been doing with consumers via social or otherwise?
Well, videos. We've been doing cooking videos, live videos. We do videos and put them up. There will soon be some new ones up on our website. But yeah, it's really a live communication has been the most successful, and then really honing in our messaging and sharing what you can do with our product, talking about how you can kind of hack any recipe with our blends. And once people see it and start to use it, they get it. So it's slowly growing, but it's can feel slower than it needs to be sometimes, but that's okay. We're very patient, and we want to think strategically about this, and be careful how we grow and grow well. So
the other thing I'll add to that is that we're tapping into the power of our audience, which is already there, and we have a lot of, we call them not testimonials, we call them tastemonials. So we're gathering those, and they're super powerful. People will come out of the woodwork and they'll tell you in their own words how they're using it and how it's changing. Like, it's salt-free, sugar-free. There's 12 to 14 uses in each, and they're conveying these feelings to us, and that's a powerful item for us to showcase, because we're about building the community and building this sort of value add, and they're helping us do that, just by being kind of ambassadors of sorts.
There are oomph-ologists.
Ooh, I was going to say you should trademark testimonials if it hasn't already been done, but oomph-ologists also sounds like a great one to do. Christine, Michael, so good seeing you. Good luck with everything going forward, and I hope to see oomph, in my neck of the woods in the near future. All right. It's interesting. I bet there are people who will say, with any brand that we've been talking to, they'll be like, I wonder if that's going to work. And I'm curious, Nicole, how many people asked you back in the day, how's this, organic tortilla chip? Who's going to buy this stuff? Did you get a lot of that early on?
Well, I remember, our first big media hit was a column that isn't around anymore called Supermarket Sampler. And I was so excited because it was, getting ready to come out, and we knew it was going to happen. And one of the people wrote, this is a quote, and I remember it because it was seared into my soul. What was Nicole Bernard Dawes thinking when she came up with this product line? She's trying to make a natural food product taste like conventional, which is the worst idea anyone's ever had. And I was like, wow, thank you for that vote of confidence. I really appreciate your kind words. It was literally like, you're an idiot. Your product line's the worst thing I've ever heard of in my entire life. I think, it's easy to be a critic. It's really hard to make a brand succeed. That's why, it's so important to really believe in your product, because, in the beginning, there are going to be a lot of people who don't.
I hope you sent that the author of that column a few coupons and been like, hey, next bag's on me, idiot. All right.
I just pushed it deep down inside.
All right. Once again, if you're just tuning in, you're watching BevNet's Elevator Talk live stream. I'm Ray Latif. I'm joined by Nicole Dawes, the founder of Late July and Nixie Sparkling Water, chatting with entrepreneurs from across the country about their innovative brands and products. Up next is Brooke Hensel, who's the founder and CEO of Vegan Heavenly Delights. Brooke, how are you?
I'm good. Great. Thank you. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Vegan Heavenly Delights. I love the name. You manufacture cheesecakes? Tell us about
Vegan
those.
cheesecakes. Yes, we call them cheesecakes without the mousse.
Okay. Okay. How do you formulate the products? Because you know, cheesecakes are near and dear to a lot of people's hearts. How do you get the flavor right? How do you get the texture right?
Okay, so they're made out of 8 ingredients or less, and we sprout our cashews. So they're made out of cashews, coconut, walnuts, sweetened only with dates and agave. So they're refined sugar-free, they're soy-free, grain-free, gluten-free, and they're paleo-friendly, diabetic-friendly. You can eat them for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. They're super delicious. And we just formulated it to where it's a really, really smooth texture. They're very creamy, so they have really, people can't tell that it's not dairy.
Very cool. You guys recently landed a pretty big retail account. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we are in all of Whole Foods in the state of Florida. We just will be launching our brand on the shelf in the Southern Pacific region of Whole Foods, which is California, Nevada, Arizona, Hawaii, which they'll be on the shelf June 1st. And then we got accepted with all 7 SKUs to Sprouts, all 350 stores. So that's very exciting.
Indeed. Nicole, your thoughts on you know, vegan cheesecakes and you know what the company is doing in terms of convincing and communicating the benefits and the taste and the texture to its consumers and frankly, and more importantly, really to new consumers.
Yeah, I think that, you know, first of all, congratulations. Those are huge, big wins, and that's great news, and I'm very excited for you. I think that one of the bigger challenges people have today launching, particularly a product like that is so much about taste, is how you communicate that in the absence of being able to demo. You know, that's one of the things that, you know, I think a lot of brands are grappling with right now, but particularly a brand like yours, where I feel that is such a big deal. You know, I guess my question for you is, you know, with these big launches, you know, how are you, I mean, and I'm obviously I'm willing to offer my thoughts too, but you maybe have already thought about this, you know, how are you going to help communicate that to these new accounts and new shoppers?
Well, I think, you know, because of the word cheesecake, I think there's so many consumers that love that. And there's a lot of dairy intolerant and people that just don't want to do dairy anymore, that they're willing to try it because there's really not a lot of competition on the market right now. There's only one other brand that's competing with us, and they have 25 ingredients and we have 8. So it's a super clean label product. And I think the word itself kind of helps sell the product, but really we've done no marketing at all except for demos in the store. So we've been in business 4.5 years, and the product is really just selling itself, other than the, you know, demos that we do. We do Veg Fest, and it's basically word of mouth. I mean, that's what's been driving our company is the comments that customers say when they try it and they share it with their friends. And, you know, it is challenging to, you know, try and convince the consumer that it's going to taste good because it is a non-dairy product. But, you know, we haven't seen that as a challenge yet, knock on wood. We also make a cashew cheese. Our cashew cheese is a spread, a dip, or a sauce. So you can use it as a dip for vegetables, spread it on crackers, or you can thin it out with a little nut milk, pour it over pasta, and it becomes your sauce. So it's a really unique product, and it's super tasty. And same thing, it's all word of mouth. I mean, we really haven't done any marketing.
You know, Brooke, it's interesting when you scale and you add new retailers, often that comes with a need to raise money or pick up new investment to fill the production needs, to fill those orders. Producing more product for a chain like Sprouts has got to be challenging. Nicole, you know, I'm sure you've been in this situation before where you do land a really big retail chain, but you might not have the resources to be able to produce all that product. So, you know, in that case, when you approach investors, do they want to hear that you landed those retailers, or do they want to hear a long-term business strategy? Like, what do investors really want to hear from an early stage brand about how that brand is scaling?
Well, I think there's 2 things. One, I mean, raising money for sales growth is always the easiest thing to raise money for. You know, you actually have a customer in the pipeline. You need the funding to be able to fulfill that. Is much easier of a problem than my cost of goods are upside down and I need to fund my business over the next 6 months while I solve that problem. So I think, funding to support growth with actual retailers that are coming on board is definitely the best position to be in looking for funding. I think the challenge with that is having the ability to already solve the problem lined up. So, you don't want to go out, obviously, and land an account with orders you can't fill. Like, you just don't have the supply chain to be able to fill it. But assuming you have the supply chain worked out and the customers coming on board, you just need the funding. That's the absolute best position to be in to raise money.
And that's where we're at right now. We're actually raising our first round of funding, and we are looking at co-packers because we could keep up with production if we scaled our business larger and bought more equipment and found a bigger place. So that is in the back of my mind, and that is why we have not launched in. Excuse me, we have a really bad brainstorm going on, but that is why we haven't launched in a lot of chains yet, because I didn't want to put myself into bankruptcy and grow too fast. And so we've done it grassroots and we've done it organically, and here we are, and we're ready to scale, and we're looking for investors. And I just want to mention before you cut me off that we are launching a vegan barbecue rib and a pastrami. So hopefully that will be coming out shortly.
Vegan pastrami. Wow. That sounds amazing. Well, when it does come out, I can't wait to try it. Brooke, so great seeing you on the show. Good luck with everything going forward. And I'm so glad that was a thunderstorm or a thunderclap, because I thought that might have been a pallet of your cheesecake falling over. That would have been tragic, absolutely tragic.
Yeah, there's a tropical storm out in the ocean right now. So we're in Florida. We're having a bad storm.
Well, hang in there, and please let us know how everything turns out.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Brooke. All right, let's keep on keeping on. Up next on the live stream is Susan Buckwalter, who's the co-founder of Recoup Beverage Company. Susan, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Very good. Very good. Thank you so much for your patience. I know you've been waiting for some time to be on the show. Recoup Beverages. What do you guys do?
So we create a ginger-powered hydration and health drink, and it's all natural. Every bottle has 2 teaspoons of pressed organic ginger, and that's actually the amount that's clinically proven to promote muscle recovery after workout, digestion, and sport immunity. So it's a healthy alternative to a sports drink that goes beyond hydration and offers those really functional benefits.
Awesome. How long have you guys been around?
We just launched. So we are new to the market. We launched in January, and we have gotten picked up at a few places. We're on Bubble Goods, which is a marketplace for clean ingredient products. And we do have a clean label. So all natural, nothing artificial, no processed sugar or stevia. We have 7 or fewer ingredients per bottle and 60 to 80 calories.
This is a question I often ask beverage entrepreneurs. What compelled you to get into this industry? Because I'm sure you might have heard that it's challenging. It can be kind of tough. But why did you feel like there was a point of difference, or why did you feel like you could make a difference? What did you feel like there was white space in the business that you're in?
Yeah, for me, so I've always been really passionate about wellness and fitness and outdoor activities. I was a college athlete. I'm still kiteboard and things like that now. And when I went to buy a sports drink after a surf session or a yoga session, there was really nothing out there that didn't have artificial ingredients or a ton of processed sugar, or just had clean, healthy things that I'd feel good about putting in my body after something like that. And so my co-founder had been working on this. He had a background more in physiology and had looked at the research around ginger and saw all the benefits of it. And what we saw was really this opportunity to come through with something that is a functional beverage. It gives you the hydration of a sports drink, but also the health benefits that people are looking for, that they might get an immunity shot or a kombucha, but really in a really refreshing and unique tasting package. So people love ginger. They know it's good for them. And there really aren't that many ginger-based beverages out there. So we saw a great opportunity to meet this functional need of having a healthier, better alternative to a sports drink, and then also deliver on this great taste promise.
Nicole, we talked a lot about communication today, and obviously we just heard from Sarah about, Susan, we obviously just heard from Susan about the benefits of ginger and how she's positioning her product. I'm curious, as to your thoughts about that approach. And I'll put you on the spot. I mean, the sports drink category is notoriously difficult, and there's only a handful of players in there. As an investor, what do you think about the space and the potential for a small brand getting into it?
Well, I think she really has identified a need. I mean, there isn't a sports drink out there that appeals to me personally. I think that it's not something that has had a clean label revolution. So I'm really intrigued by that. I think, but like you mentioned, it's, obviously it's a category that has a lot of big players spending a lot of money. The space is hard to get. So I think, but I do think that her proposition is interesting. I mean, to me, the biggest challenge I feel like is mapping out her launch strategy and her channel strategy, and, making sure that she's speaking really loudly to the niche that she's trying to serve.
Susan, what is your channel strategy at this point? I mean, are you looking at natural retailers, conventional, convenience stores, gyms? I mean,
yeah.
Well, I assume not gyms right now, but what are you looking at as the best sort of retail opportunity for Recoup?
Sure. So it's definitely an omni-channel product. So we have direct to consumer. We have a website, Recoup Wellness, where we're selling directly, and then we were actually getting great traction in fitness studios and gyms. And I think, to Nicole's point, that's an excellent way to really speak to our niche and to be where they are. Obviously, they're not there right now, but that is just on hold, and those things will come back. So we'll continue with that strategy. We've also performed really well in natural product stores. And so we're in the tri-state area in distribution, and we're selling well in those places. And we'll actually be expanding our reach and our presence there in the next few months. So we see that as a great opportunity. And then I think focusing and being where the people who right now feel like the sports drink and the fitness drink market is not reaching them, being where those people are is the best way that we can create a brand that people love and connects with them.
Susan, did you hear me mention the New Beverage Showdown competition that we have coming up in a couple of weeks?
I am excited to apply for that.
All right, outstanding.
You'll see a Recoup.
Outstanding. I hope to see your application soon. Thank you so much for joining us on the live stream. And it sounds like you might have a customer, Nicole. So if you can send her a couple of bottles, I think she'd appreciate it.
I would love that.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Nicole, before we get to our final guest of the show, I'm sure there's a lot of folks that would want to get in touch with you. What's the best way to do so? Is it LinkedIn? Is it through Nixie Sparkling Water's website?
I mean, LinkedIn is great. I mean, I love our LinkedIn community. I feel like, particularly over the past couple months, honestly, I feel like it's been such a great, supportive, wonderful group of people. And I mean, I do get a lot of messages on LinkedIn, but I feel like I work really hard to make sure that I get back to everybody. And I've just met a lot of wonderful people that way. So I would definitely say LinkedIn is the best way to connect.
Fantastic. You're going to get 1,000 new invites in the next 24 hours. No, yeah, that's just the power of the live stream platform. Now, thank you so much for saying that. And once again, for folks who are listening, LinkedIn is a great way to communicate and build your network. And I'm sure there are people out there that have some really great feedback or advice. We're trying to do our best to offer that on the show, but you know what? It really takes a lot of people for you to be able to formulate a really great strategy or offer a piece of advice that you may not have thought of. So yeah, absolutely use LinkedIn, build your network, and get in touch with people, because you never know who's going to help you in the end. All right, down to our final guest of the live stream. That's Deanna McCraw, who's the co-founder and CEO of Positively Plantain. Deanna, how are you?
Hi, Nicole. Hi, Ray. How are y'all?
Very good. Very good. Positively Plantain. Love the name. And, thank you so much for being patient with your pitch for Positively Plantain. You see how I did that? Okay. My dad joke for the day. Tell us about your company and brand.
Yeah, so like you said, my name is Deanna McCraw, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Positively Plantain, where we take green plantains and create delicious and nutritious gluten-free tortillas. Oh. So yeah, we just use 3 ingredients: green plantains, baking powder, and salt, which makes our tortillas fat-free, 40 calories, and super good, filled with lots of vitamins and minerals. Not only that, we don't just stop at gluten-free, we're grain-free, nut-free, and oil-free as well. We debuted last year at Natural Products Expo West and received an overwhelming response from consumers and retailers. So we knew that we had to scale up from our little operation in a commercial kitchen. So I'm happy to announce today that we completed our construction on the first allergen-free tortilla manufacturing facility here in Fort Collins.
Wow, that is very cool. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You know, this actually came up in our banter recording this morning for Taste Radio Insider, which the next episode, episode 87, will air on Friday. This, you know, building your own manufacturing facility may be the best way for you to control quality and control how your product is made. From an investment perspective, it can be kind of challenging because it takes a lot of upfront money to do so. Nicole, in your experience, you know, I'm curious about your thoughts for Positively Plantain's, you know, production strategy and what your thoughts are on building your own facility.
Well, first of all, I want to say your products are delicious, and I really am looking forward to trying them. I love plantains and tortillas, so I'm very excited about that. We have had both. Like, you know, I grew up actually with a family manufacturing facility, and at Late July we had a manufacturing facility, and then we went to co-packers and manufacturing facilities. So I've been on every side of that. And you know, the challenging thing with your own facility is it's just so expensive, and it's also actually, even though it gives you tons of flexibility, it's also incredibly limiting because, you know, you've invested in this facility and that's, you know, what you're capable of. I think ultimately the best strategy is a hybrid, where you have your own manufacturing, but you also have co-packers that are capable of helping you so that you can scale quickly or change or pivot. Ultimately, what we ended up doing at Late July was taking our equipment that we had installed in our own factory and moving it to a co-packer, and then partnering with them, which in the end turned out to be.
When you're researching co-packers, I mean, is it a good idea to start meeting co-packers before you need them? Start laying the groundwork for a relationship well before you might need that option?
I mean, it's very difficult to find a good co-packer that, you know, and also where it's a mutual fit, you know, because obviously if you've had your own facility, that means you're very hands-on and you're going to be very specific about the way you want everything. And so you're going to need a co-packer that's going to let you do that in their facility, which isn't going to be every co-packer.
Mm-hmm. Deanna, as Nicole mentioned, you know, your products sound amazing. And going back to this question and notion about communicating your product and your benefits, at this point, you know, how many people are familiar with plantains? How many people know about the product itself or the ingredient itself? And, you know, how much of that has been a hurdle or challenge for you to express what you are and what you're all about?
Yeah, well, around the world, plantains are eaten fairly often. It's the 10th staple crop. But here in America, they've been kind of introduced slowly over the last few years, particularly through plantain chips. So we're the first tortillas. So like at Expo West, people saw plantain and came up expecting a chip. And then they're like, wait, this is soft. Like this holds, you know, tortilla fillings and everything like that. So, so luckily people are familiar with plantains. They might have their own preconceived notions, like fried plantains are sweet. We use green plantains, so that's less sugar and more of a starchy. It's more comparable to a potato. But yeah, there's definitely some education that still is happening with our consumers. But luckily, a lot of people, once they try it, they notice that our tortillas have a completely neutral taste profile. So, I mean, people use them in replacement of naan, tortillas, just wraps in general. So yeah, so that's how it's been going.
Fantastic. Well, my mouth is watering, and I definitely feel like I'm going to have tacos tonight. When you pulled up that taco, you're killing me over here. I wish I had some Positively Plantain, but hopefully I will in the near future.
Yes, I'll send y'all some.
Thank you so much, Deanna. All right. Thank you again for joining us, sharing your story. Can't wait to see what the next evolution looks like, and please stay in touch.
Thank you. Have a great day. Have a positive day.
You too. Thank you. I like that. Have a positive day. I appreciate it, especially nowadays. Everyone should say that. Have a positive day. I like that. Nicole, we made it through. We're a little over time, but that was a lot of fun. Thank you so much for all your feedback and advice. That was great. You saw a lot of entrepreneurs today. You saw a lot of pitches, and you know, for someone like you who's been in the business for a long time, I'm sure there's a lot of people that want to pick your brain about a lot of things. But in general, what do you think is the most important thing? I know you talked about passion, but from a tactical standpoint, what do you think is the most important thing that an entrepreneur can do to really set themselves up for success early into the life cycle of their business?
Well, I think from a tactical standpoint, it's making sure you have enough capital. Particularly right now where this is a very challenging environment, and you want to preserve your capital as much as possible, so that the next 6 to 9 months are going to be this kind of strange new world that we're living in. But so from a very tactical standpoint, it's capital. But I think that as an entrepreneur, I've always been an optimist. And I think this is a little bit cliche maybe, but even in our darkest hours at late July, where I didn't know everything was going wrong, I've always found that it's your belief in your power to succeed that means the most. I think there's that Lincoln quote that people always say, but always bear in mind that your own resolution to succeed is more important than any other. And I think that is one of the truest statements that an entrepreneur can believe in, because, this is, it's ultimately you that's going to have to solve all your problems. It's you that's going to have to get that next loan. It's you that's going to have to build your manufacturing facility. It's you that's going to have to hire your team. So, you have to believe in yourself and your ability to do that.
That is such great advice, and I'm sure you're drawing upon that advice as you're building Nixie as well. Amazing stuff. It's so great to speak with you, Nicole, and I hope we can talk again soon. If we continue to do this format, we'd love to have you back.
Great. Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. All right. Once again, you've been watching BevNet's Elevator Talk live stream. We are on every Wednesday at 3 p.m. And we have a fantastic team behind us here at BevNet and Nosh. Thank you so much to our technical team, our marketing team at BevNet and Nosh. And a huge thanks once again to Nicole Dawes for some amazing feedback and advice. Signing off, I'm Ray Latif. We'll talk to you next week.